Hey, it's Jordan. I am here in Charleston, South Carolina. Tonight will be, what do they say? When life gives you lemons, make some lemonade. So we are here at a local bar, local 616. So if you're in the Charleston area and you're not crazy, come on down to bar local 616. CNN is on fire. They are behind us, and they are creaming their pants. Joe Biden has won South Carolina. Breaking news. Joe Biden has won South Carolina. So let me see how many people we got watching, give you the announcements before we get to some interviews with some Bernie Sanders folks. Full disclosure, Bernie's campaign, I think, messed up where it was going to be tonight, so I think more people will be coming as we go. Let me see how many people we got watching. Hold on. All right, we got 200 people watching already. Hey-o. Press that like button, the thumbs up button right under the live stream. More people that press that like button right under the live stream. More people that will see the live stream. We got 11% of precincts reporting. They just took it off the screen. Biden's up by a lot. I would expect that margin to shrink dramatically. Bernie Sanders is in second place right now. Tom Steyer. Okay, we got Biden at 53%, Bernie at 15%, Steyer at 12%. Pete Buttigieg is beating Elizabeth Warren. Pete Buttigieg is at 7%. Warren down in fifth place at 6%. So keep pressing that like button. Again, we're going to interview folks, get Bernie Sanders supporters response here. The other thing is we are 54 members away from 1,700. Want to hit 1,700 members tonight while we're live. We got a flight tomorrow to California, but we need to sign up more members. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Come on in. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Patrick Gallagher from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, so you guys came down knocking on doors from New York.
Yep, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Tell me, you were here right when CNN, right at 7 o'clock, they called it for Biden.
Yes.
Did you get a sense that CNN had some emotions about this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's no secret that CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, they have an agenda. They are not friends of Bernie Sanders. They don't share his ambition for what this country could be. The New York Times, I was looking at it on my little phone. They said they called it for Biden with a little chart that said 0 votes had been counted. Absolutely no data to back it up. Right now,
by the way, they did not do that for Bernie Sanders in Nevada. Bernie Sanders had an overwhelming victory in Nevada when the polls closed. They did not do that for Bernie Sanders. Just a point.
No. That's absolutely worthwhile pointing out. None of this is a surprise. I mean, Joe Biden, we didn't expect Joe Biden to lose South Carolina. It would have been great, obviously, and it still is not impossible that could happen. They have called 12% of precincts are reporting. The good news is that Sanders right now, with only 12% reporting, is over 15%. So he will get delegates from South Carolina. No one else will other than Joe Biden. And so I think that the campaign, I mean, I'm just a volunteer, but I think the campaign was hoping just to get some delegates on the board, shrink Biden's lead a little bit. And so it looks like that's happened. I mean, and so I think as far as the campaign is concerned, that's a win. And also, I mean, Biden does not have a path beyond South Carolina. You know, his campaign has been moribund in extremely delegate-rich Super Tuesday states, including, Texas and California, where Bernie Sanders has a prohibitive lead. Right. You know, I mean, and so this is not, I mean, 3 days from now, that's going to be the story, and once again, you're going to have a lot of hand-wringing and just crazy kind of like the CNN, MSNBC crowd. They're going to find a way to make the story about themselves and their own confusion, and just like they did after Nevada. But the fact of the matter is that Bernie Sanders will have the votes, because he has a message that is popular and represents the aspirations of working class, middle class Americans. You know, even some richer Americans who can see what is happening. You know, I mean, and the folks on MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, they have good jobs, but they represent no one.
And by the way, just so the audience knows, because sometimes I get a little bit of grief.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my phone, I'm still listening, but I'm waiting to get. I'm getting updates from Jen through my phone. Most reporters, well, they're not really reporters. They have something in their ear where producers are talking to them. I don't. So that's why I'm looking at my phone. It's not to be rude, but I don't have a way. I don't have a way to know what's going on without looking at my phone. The other thing. We got almost 600 people watching. I need every one of you. Press the like button right under the live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see. Let's get this live stream through the roof. Also, we got to sign up more members. I can't wait to read as we get more member signups. We posted a special video just for members today. So if you're a Status Coup member, go to statuscoup.com, check out that video for under the members section. If you're not a member, you can sign up for as low as $5 a month. statuscoup.com/join. So right now, with 14% of the precincts, Biden's at 53%, Bernie's at 16%, which is important because Bernie has to clear 15% to get delegates. Right now, Biden and Bernie are the only ones with delegates. Again, 14% is very low. CNN also did not tell the audience this in the beginning, but in the beginning, when the results are just starting to come out, those are mostly absentee votes, which include a lot of older voters and include a lot of military voters. South Carolina is a very, very conservative state, even for Democrats. So in the beginning, you're going to see Biden have this massive lead. Expect it to shrink down as they get more into the counties. The beginning was the absentee votes. What do you think about that? Because, we got 831 people watching right now. So keep signing up, keep signing up, keep signing up. So what's interesting to me, Biden won, good for him. Right. But what's different this time, there's only 72 hours till Super Tuesday. Right. California, a lot of early voting has already happened. Same thing with Texas, same thing with other places. I just want to read you the latest polls because I'm not saying this as somebody who's not a fan of Joe Biden. I'm not. I'm saying this just political reality, if I can find my polls here. So you look at Texas, a lot of early voting. Texas is the third most delegates of any state. Bernie Sanders is up by 9 in the recent CNN poll.
That's huge.
I don't know if South Carolina's results will have that much of an impact. I think South Carolina's results might impact more Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, those southern states, a lot of black voters. But Texas, I don't think so. California, Bernie Sanders up by 21 points. The latest CNN poll.
That's enormous. And California is the biggest state in the nation, I think. And it's
bigger than a lot of countries.
No. Right. No, California. Yeah, if California went off on their own, they'd be very respectable as a country. No, but I think.
Wait, one more. We got Elizabeth Warren's home state. Of course, they're now calling Bernie Sanders sexist for daring to campaign in Massachusetts. These were literally tweets by journalists today that Bernie Sanders should not be insulting Elizabeth Warren by campaigning. Bernie Sanders.
It's a competitive process. Very famously, in 2016, Bernie Sanders said, Elizabeth Warren, you should run for president because there should be a progressive voice in this race. If it's just a coronation of Hillary Clinton, then that'll be bad for the country. And you have a chance because you of your views and your charisma and your accomplishments to, at the very least, push Hillary Clinton to the left. I mean, that's what a lot of us thought that Bernie Sanders would do. That's what I thought he would do in 2016, that Hillary Clinton would respond. Well, I don't want to relitigate that, but the fact is that it's a competitive process, and Elizabeth Warren is running against Bernie Sanders to be president of the United States. And the whole concept of the unity ticket of everyone, I mean, it's a bizarre and concept, and the fact is that like he does have he is more popular than Elizabeth Warren in every single category. And the reason is that his message is bolder, simpler, and he just is more popular than her. And so it would be absurd not to try to get a delegate-rich state like Massachusetts, it just shows, okay, like people in the media, the mainstream media, okay, they don't like him, fine, that's clear, but to sort of mask that bias behind accusations of sexism does a very grave disservice to everyone who has ever been victimized by real sexism.
And I want to get back to Warren, but I want to stick with South Carolina for a second. By the way, we got 1,100 people watching right now, 1,100 people. Smash that like button. This is a super chat, by the way, just so you know. Hey, Jamal, hit me with the first tissue. I'm not doing this for effect. I have a bad cold. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus. So I have a bad cold, so I will be blowing my nose live on air. Every time I blow my nose, I think a new person needs to sign up as a Status Coup member. So it's like, what is that? Every time something happens, an angel gets its wings. Every time I blow my nose, we need more people to sign up. We're 54 members away from 1,700. We have no funding from the banks, no funding from the fossil fuckers, no funding from Silicon Valley, nothing from the plutocrats of the Democratic Party, nothing from the plutocrats of the Republican Party. It's you. Sign up, statuscoup.com. Hold on a second. I shit you not, it's not dramatics. My cold is coming back. So I want to get into South Carolina for a second. Okay. I'm sure you've been paying attention. So Joe Biden, in the last week, lied at least 5 times about being arrested in apartheid South Africa on his way to meet Nelson Mandela. Did you know about that?
Yes, I did. I'm not super well informed about that.
Let me inform you.
Yeah, but
so
I know that. Yeah.
So Joe Biden lied at least 5 times about being arrested in apartheid South Africa. I was screaming and hollering on Twitter. If this was Bernie Sanders, they'd be calling for the FBI to shackle him. CNN had him on for a town hall for an hour, not a word. They didn't mention it at all. They gave him a 1-hour infomercial. Then finally, yesterday, CNN very, very feebly asked him about it. Biden says, oh, no, I was stopped. Not arrested, I was stopped. Does the anchor follow up?
Well, was it frisk?
No.
Because, then you'd want to ask, I guess, how Bloomberg feels about it, because of the stop and frisk, and, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But that's on top of Sean King has done great reporting that the mainstream media refused to cover.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has lied at least 35 times in the last decades about participating in civil rights sit-ins. Never happened. He never participated in any civil rights sit-ins. And I asked my cameraman before I came on, who, happens to be black, do you think if more black voters knew about these things, he probably would still win, but maybe, just maybe, it would have given them some pause? But the media didn't report on any of this because, as you said, you barely knew about it.
Well, I think that the media just, as we've seen tonight, you said very accurately that on CNN they creamed their pants. Because they did they actually? I don't know. I don't want to engage in impugning their motives anymore than to say that, yeah, the media would rather have Biden win than Bernie Sanders. That's obvious. They just kind of, I think there's maybe a kind of a way of thinking among some of the more privileged and elite members of our society that It's possible to go back to the way things were before Donald Trump was elected, where you have like these kind of neoliberal leaders with a fig leaf of like, you know, encouragement of diversity and tolerance of difference, but at the same time pursuing policies that are aggressively designed to favor the rich above everyone else. The truth is that, I mean, what the Trump election proved, and what I think this election will also prove, is that there's no going back. I mean, as Barack Obama said at the 2016, convention, he was upset that Trump had "Make America Great Again" as his slogan, because as President Obama said, America already is great. But the number of people who feel that way, who feel that America is great, who feel that they are benefiting from the so-called American dream, is just too small now. There's no room. The middle class has gotten so small that that people want to shake up the system. And the question is, are they going to do it with, an evil man, a fascist like Donald Trump, who will blame various groups, for it's all their fault? Or is it going to be someone who says, no, this is because the deck is stacked in favor of the very rich, but this is a democracy, and we have the political power to change it if we just try, which is Bernie Sanders. So it's just the middle class has been eroded. There's no more middle ground. There's no going back. But I don't think that the very rich understand that. And those are the people who control the media. And so, of course, they want Biden to win because they want to go back to how it was before. But it's partly their fault. Because, they have sit back and supported one administration after another that has contributed to the erosion of the middle class.
Did you happen to see today that CNN, an anchor, in the same sentence, linked Bernie Sanders with coronavirus?
I did. Yeah, I did.
You were mentioning the media.
No, right. No, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And it's just, and you have like Chris Matthews, comparing, old Bernie to the Nazis and this frankly ridiculous stuff, preposterous stuff. That is just very extreme, and it's just and people say that Bernie's an extremist, but he's not. He is an FDR New Deal Democrat, and that is not extreme. It's an approach to governing and economic management that has worked very well for this country within the last century. But the extreme is Chris Matthews saying that equating Bernie with the Nazis, Chuck Todd doing the same thing, Michael Bloomberg calling Bernie a communist in the last debate, a cheap shot, as Bernie himself astutely pointed out. So those are the extremists. And so what Bernie aspires to is, by world standards, quite reasonable and sort of everyday and even a little bit boring. But that's what's good about it.
One second. Welcome new Status Coup member, Justin. Heyo. We are now 53 members away. 53 members away from 1,700. Keep signing up. I got another question for you.
Sure.
Let the boo birds call me a sexist all they want. I think a lot of this comes down to Elizabeth Warren, and I'll tell you why. She came in third in Iowa. She came in fourth in New Hampshire. She came in fourth in Nevada, I believe. It's early, but she is right now in fifth place behind Pete. I tell black people, I'm not asking for your vote. Buttigieg. So why I bring this up, she might very well come out of fifth place, but right now she's in fifth place.
Yeah.
I bring this up because, as you know, the New York Times reported this week, they're already plotting to take down Bernie Sanders at the convention.
Yeah, right.
So when you look at the math, any Andrew Yang people out there, go math. Elizabeth Warren, her voters, their top second choice is Bernie Sanders.
Right.
So if the longer she stays in this, she's taking away from Bernie more than the others. So listen, I'm all for a woman president. I'd personally like it to be Nina Turner as the first one, but
or Barbara Lee.
But even her staying in to Super Tuesday, which she's at risk of losing her own home state right now.
No,
would you like to see Warren it's a tough thing to say, drop out, but she's taking away the numbers Bernie would need to clinch it on the first ballot.
No, of course. Well, there's a couple things. First, I don't think that she has enough support now that even if she did drop out and he got 50% or more of her supporters, she has so few supporters that that would still potentially not help him win in the first ballot. It wouldn't hurt, of course.
In California, she's in second right now. That's a lot of delegates.
No. That's true. That is true. Well, no, I think that she should drop out. I think that if as she says, look, at every debate, she has said that she essentially supports Bernie's entire policy agenda, but she just is either, as she said, she personally would be better at being president, she would, or whatever like that, but she's losing badly. And unlike if you believe in lanes, in the moderate lane, everyone's still, clogged up, they're fighting, they're scrapping, there's no clear leader in the moderate lane, but Bernie has consolidated that victory in the progressive lane. She has no path to victory. There's no way that she will win any state going forward, including Massachusetts. And so I just think that I think that if she did drop out, I think that would be a very courageous and heroic act, really, act of statesmanship on her part, as far as contributing to what her professed goal of putting progressive policies into place and improving people's lives in this country and around the world. But she doesn't. It's also possible that she doesn't really care that much about that. That she is just a very deeply ego-driven politician who is unwilling to admit that she has no chance. But I mean, it's so amazing because she could either lose, by a lot, which is likely. Oh, look, it's Bernie.
Bernie's speaking in Virginia, where the most recent poll has him up by 9. So
that's amazing. That's great. But she, or she could do some. She could make a real contribution and drop out and become part of the campaign and become Secretary of the Treasury. Because I mean, the polls show Bernie beating Trump. And I don't know. Maybe we want to see what he has to say. Yeah.
I hate competing with Bernie. Damn it. So Bernie's speaking right now in Virginia with 24% of the precincts reporting in South Carolina. Biden is winning 51%. Bernie is now at almost 18%. So the margin is going down. Steyer is at 12%. Buttigieg is at 7%. Warren at 6%. Klobuchar at 3%, and Tulsi Gabbard just around 1%. My guess is CNN will probably cut away from Bernie Sanders in approximately 3-2 pretty soon. They're not going to stay on Bernie Sanders. We have 1,500 people watching. 1,500 people watching right now. So I want every one of you. We're going to stay live for a while tonight. Speak with Bernie Sanders supporters here. Look forward to Super Tuesday. So make sure you keep pressing the like button. It's right under the live stream. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see. Definitely. If you got a couple bucks, this is a super chat. We really appreciate all super chats. We've been in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and now South Carolina. And now we're going to California. This is all very expensive. And as you know, we don't have corporate funding. So we really appreciate super chats. More important than super chats, if you're not a Status Coup member, consider signing up right now. statuscoup.com/join. We are 53 members away. 53 members away from hitting 1,700 members. So super important. We'd like to hit 1,700 tonight. So if you've been on the fence, you could join us for as low as $5 a month. I want to point something out. Oh, thank you, Brad, $20 in the super chat. We'll get him back in a minute. I want to point something out that James Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina, most endorsements don't really matter. I think Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's endorsement made a big difference. But other than that, most endorsements don't actually move the needle. Clyburn's endorsement, which happened this week, made a big difference. In the exit polls, it showed that most people actually, I want to ask you one more thing. Most people made their decision in the recent days. I was talking about James Clyburn's endorsement. Actually, most endorsements don't make that big of a difference, but his did, because most people decided in the last few days. And in the exit polls, almost half in the exit polls said Clyburn, his endorsement either mattered a lot or mattered somewhat. So it seems to me that would indicate Biden's support was, I don't want to say soft, but not definite for a lot of voters, and Clyburn put him over, which says a lot. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is, I'm not saying black voters would have voted against Biden, but a lot of them didn't know about these inconsistencies.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I honestly can't speak to that. I know that Representative Clyburn is a major figure, and so it made a difference. I mean, all I can say, I mean, is the problem is that Biden. Well, I don't know. I don't understand Biden's appeal because I have been paying a lot of attention to the election, and I have seen how erratic he is, and he is dishonest about his past. And in his past, he has supported a lot of things, including, the 90s crime bill, bankruptcy stuff, that were, as far as I would describe as harsh. Like that is his legacy, is that as a legislator, he has contributed to making America a more punitive place for people who get ensnared in the criminal justice system or go into debt, and certainly he prides himself on working with people like Strom Thurmond, who is a avowed racist, and
segregationist.
Yes, absolutely, and so no, I mean his arguments about how reaching across the aisle and compromise and all that stuff maybe makes sense in the context of a much different, earlier moment in history. But, the country has moved on. I think a lot of people don't know that about him because they haven't been paying attention to him. And that's okay. I think that eventually, if people do actually, if Biden is going to be, the media wants him to be the co-front runner now because they don't like the idea of Bernie having a prohibitive lead, which I think he probably will after Tuesday. And so, no, but I think if people start taking a closer look at Joe Biden and think of him as anything besides the sort of, kind of funny guy at the side of Barack Obama, which is, I think, the sole basis for his support, is nostalgia for the Barack Obama years, then once people see that there's a lot more to him than that, they will probably find it, frankly, revolting. And also, he's a dreadful public speaker. He doesn't seem to be able to handle the stress of campaigning, and I think that, That's
what I wanted to ask you about. Yeah. Not everybody wants to comment on this. I will. I'd like to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
To me, of course, nobody's a doctor here. I make clear to my audience I'm not diagnosing. Right. But sure. I think this goes a little beyond dreadful public speaking. The other day, he said, "I'm Joe Biden. I'm running for Senate." There's been countless. They're not gaffes. He's forgetting where he is. He's losing his train of thought. And to me, if you truly want to defeat Trump, this is a major liability, because if something's going on,
the whole idea of we need someone who is electable and who can beat Trump. And I know a lot of people who say that, and they don't think about what they're saying at all, and they repeat it like a mantra. We have to beat Trump. And it's and so these are invariably people who are, I don't know. There's an expression that people like to use on the internet, black pill, and this is a very black-pilled kind of concept, is that it is, I've talked to several people who feel like they've been so traumatized by Trump that they have turned off their brains. And they're like, beat Trump, in this way that makes them sound, frankly, kind of like zombies. And so only a zombie would support Michael Bloomberg for president, unless you actually were a fascist, which I believe that Michael Bloomberg is.
Or a wealthy zombie.
No, correct. Thank you for pointing that out. No, but Biden, yeah, we have to beat Trump. No, I mean, Trump is an interesting character, to say the least. Everything he's ever done in his life, he has sucked at. He is obviously a garbage person. He's shit, I think it's safe to say, about Donald Trump. But the one thing in his life he's ever done well is run for president. And he would make mincemeat out of someone like Joe Biden because he's mean. He's a bully. He makes fun of people he's unfair about it. Trump doesn't care about fairness. So we are trying to find a way, you and I right now, to talk about Biden's issues in a way that is not unfair to him, and that does not seem ageist. That's something we care about. Trump does not give a shit about that. Trump the minute that Biden gets on stage with Donald Trump and starts stuttering, not that a lot of people stutter. I feel like I've stuttered multiple times in this conversation. Fine. But Trump is not fair. He doesn't care about being fair. So yes, this is just a long way of saying, you asked me a leading question and the answer is yes. Yeah.
Well, I also think that there's a difference in Bernie and Biden, among many. On the same bill, the crime bill, Bernie voted for it. He did. Bad vote. But Bernie's capable of acknowledging mistakes. Bernie has said, listen, and at the time he spoke out about the mass incarceration aspect. He said he voted for it because of the violence against women's aspect. But later on, he's acknowledged it was a bad vote. Biden has a little Trump in him because he doesn't. In 2016, he said, no, I don't regret it at all. He denies still that it actually created mass incarceration. Right. It's crazy to me. He hasn't been challenged on the bankruptcy bill. He's barely laid a glove on him. I mean, he pushed repealing Glass-Steagall. It goes down the list. But there's also another element, and people might think I'm taking cheap shots, but this is reality. You don't think Trump's going to use video of Joe Biden sniffing young children's hair? You don't think Trump's going to use video of Joe Biden saying, he literally said, I love when young children rub my hairy legs. I mean, none of the rest of the media will bring this up, and I might be attacked for bringing it up, but these are all things that, they say, they're going to call Bernie a communist. Well, they're going to show Joe Biden and the ridiculous things he has said and the weird, creepy things he has done, and I don't know if that's a recipe to take on Donald Trump.
Well, Trump, I mean, again, the secret of Trump's success is that he, when the Access Hollywood tape came out, 4 years ago, his first move was to organize a press conference with women who had accused Bill Clinton of sexual harassment or sexual
rape.
Yes, yeah. And so, correct. And Bill Clinton, is on the Epstein flight logs and all that stuff. So what he did was he was like, look, he did nothing to exonerate himself. That's not what Trump does. What he does is he says, look, they are no different than I am, okay? And he makes people cynical. So people who would otherwise vote against him because they would think that by doing that, they are standing up for something. He makes them think, no, look, I mean, voting for Hillary Clinton, as far as, is the same as voting for me. And so people who would be inclined to vote against him don't do it. They just stay home, and you have record low turnout and Trump wins. Because he does have hardcore support, but it's minority support, but he has this amazing ability to depress turnout by creating equivalencies between himself and his opponents. And that would be absolutely no problem for him to do with Sleepy Joe. Sorry. I think I've internalized Trump a little bit. We all have probably. I've been thinking about him every day for the last 5 years, whatever. But no, but the fact is that would be absolutely no problem for him to do that.
Last 1 second. Welcome new Status Coup member, Jennifer. Heyo. We are now 52 members away. We got to hit 1,700 tonight. We got a lot of people watching right now. If you haven't signed up, it's as easy as statuscoup.com/join. Keep signing up. We got to get more members We're flying to California tomorrow for Super Tuesday. Honestly, after that, we need more money. We need more funding. This has all cost a lot. Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. We're going to California. Remember, I was in South Bend before all this. We got to grow. Statuscoup.com/join. Or you could depend on CNN to cover the election fairly. Last question. I always like to ask people this. You came from New York. You're obviously living and breathing this. Why? What about Bernie for you? What's at stake for you that you're so passionate to, whether you're, I don't know if you drove, you flew, whatever, but you're in another state knocking on doors for Bernie.
Well, I love the idea. One of the things about the campaign, the movement, really, I mean, that's what it is. It is a movement. It's not just a political campaign. One thing that he always says is, not me, us. If we want to get the stuff that we want, then it is going to entail the involvement of millions of people doing exactly this. It's going to take, willingness to go to. I mean, these days, with the way that media have changed, a lot of people have issues kind of with talking to people. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, I'm a stranger, but I want to share this message with you. But Bernie Sanders is one of the things that inspires me about him is that he consistently makes clear just how important exactly that sort of activity is to any kind of meaningful political change. And so I love being part of that. And it's just and so it is one of the things that he's offering to everyone in this country where democracy has felt like theater for a very long time. People are disaffected, atomized, is a chance to contribute and actually be part of historical change just by taking out of their own time. And just by doing very simple things like knocking on doors, saying hi, making phone calls. In fact, there's a whole army of people now. If you don't like talking to people, that's okay. You can send texts. There's a lot you can do. And in doing that, you can contribute to historic change. And so I love, and that's not, for him, that's not just a tactic. That's actually, he wants to make this into a country where more and more people are actively involved in doing democracy in their everyday lives. And so that's what I'm doing. My friends, we're all here from New York, and they're from New York, and and that's why we're doing this. And so I think that's again a long answer, but I think that's my answer.
Well, there's two things I want to say to respond to that.
Yeah.
What I think's so important that sometimes gets lost in this, we're in South Carolina right now. Do you know that of the voters who voted tonight, 50% said they favor Medicare for all?
Yeah.
In South Carolina, which is a Republican state, and even the Democrats tend to be more conservative. That's not just, it's a lot about Bernie, but it's a lot about what you're talking about. This movement 4 years ago, they would have told you you need to check yourself into a hospital. To think that in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, 4 states would be overwhelming. Well, South Carolina's 50%, but still 50% for a government healthcare system. Secondly, I think you said the word that really, to me, stands out. What oligarchy wants in reality, what the plutocracy wants, how they thrive, is cynicism.
Yeah.
Is people saying, nothing can be done.
Yeah.
My vote doesn't matter. Knock on doors, what's that going to do? And I think what Bernie's doing, and it seems like why you're attracted to him, is it's make people are realizing, no, we can fight back and we could even win.
Yeah.
And we can't let them, they would love, this is what CNN's doing right now, to make you think, Bernie's fun is over. CNN's practically, I don't even want to know what MSNBC is doing right now.
No, I can't.
No.
It's too disgusting.
But thank you for talking to me. What's your name again?
Patrick. Yeah, from Brooklyn, New York. Yeah.
You're DSA, right?
Yeah.
Democratic Socialists of America. Thanks for talking to me. Tell the rest of the crowd. That fine woman, I want to talk to her. She's wonderful. Let me give you a little updates here. Like I said, we're 52 members away from hitting 1,700. So keep signing up. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Right now, with 33% reporting, Biden's at 51%. Bernie's at almost 18. Steyer, it just went off my screen. Let me give you a couple more updates here before I get somebody else here. We're almost at 2,000 people watching, so remember to keep pressing that like button. More people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. I got a bit of a cold, so I'm gonna have to blow my nose. What? Okay, that's fine. Can I interview you, brave soul? Come on. I also want to tell you some numbers. Remember, keep pressing that like button. So tonight, conservative state, 10% so far were aged 17 to 29, which is obviously Bernie's sweet spot. So not a great number at 10%. 18% were aged 30 to 44. So between basically under 40 was 28%. 43% of the voters were aged 45 to 64. So pretty significant number were between basically middle age 45 to 64. 29% were over 65. Nate Cohen of the New York Times reports, looking at the 10 precincts with both election day and early votes, it seems to me Sanders is definitely faring much better on election day, perhaps 15 points so far. So that will cut down on Biden's huge 38-point lead as we start seeing more election day vote. So what that means, Biden's commanding lead right now is mostly early voting, absentee voting. Bernie is faring much better on election day, meaning today. So Biden's lead will continue to shrink. We're only at 37%. 37% reporting. Let me blow my nose one more time. Biden is speaking right now. Only the sexiest internet for you. Got to blow my nose because I have a cold. Come on in. How you doing? What's your name?
Caroline.
Caroline.
Yes.
And remember, press that like button. More likes will get more viewers. Keep signing up. statuscoup.com/join. So Uncle Joe Biden is talking right now. New York Times is reporting that they expect his lead to shrink significantly. I kind of want to ask you, I was talking to the other gentleman, CNN is creaming their pants. I can only imagine what MSNBC is doing right now.
I wouldn't want to.
Right. So they're trying, I heard Anna was talking about maybe it's time for some of the other moderates to drop out. So they're kind of what they're saying is time to consolidate around Biden against Bernie. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that it seems like the moderates are kind of all scrambling. I've been talking, it seems like I'm talking to my parent, my dad, my husband's parents, and they keep texting like, what do you think about Amy? What do you think about Joe? Like, it seems like no one really has it seems all they want to do is defeat Trump, which is admirable and understandable. But I think the progressive option is actually changing things for the better. And so I think there's sort of a generational misunderstanding between these two choices. And so I think the moderates are going to keep squabbling, and who knows what will happen after Super Tuesday. But it doesn't seem like there is any consolidation at this point. Yeah.
And what's really interesting about this year, most of the time Super Tuesday there's a little bit more time between South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Now it's 72 hours. So Biden can win by 100, and I don't know how much of a bounce that would give him in these states, because a lot of these states already have early voting and voters have already voted. So to me, this is kind of like a one-off. Good for Biden. He won mostly old conservative state. But I don't really see it having that much of an impact for him on Super Tuesday. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. Look at Nevada. You had grassroots organizing for many, many months. Actual policy that people were excited to go out and vote for. People that hadn't voted in the past, young people that hadn't voted in the past, they came out for Medicare for all. They're voting not for person, but for policy, which I think is very important. So, Super Tuesday, you're looking at California, Texas. Is Florida Super Tuesday?
No.
Okay, so California and Texas, those are huge. You've got those the majority of the delegates, right? So I think
right now Bernie's up 21 in California.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I mean, all these young people have saddled with student debt. I was talking earlier about like how important this shift would be for healthcare, because if we have Medicare for all in this country, it'll be huge. Like it's such a big part of my life where I see all these people, posting about GoFundMes for their family, for their friends. They're asking for money for their healthcare bills because their friends and family are dying, or they need these, critical things. And I think it's just really sad. It's very sad. It doesn't have to be this way. Other countries have free healthcare. They pay their taxes, and it goes into healthcare. And it would just require like it would require a shuffling of our budget, which we can do, and we're voting for it. And that's, I think, that's all the polls that are coming out are saying that healthcare is the number one priority of voters, and so we have like a very small possibility to change things for the better in this country, and so I'm excited.
1 second. Welcome new Status Coup members, Kathy and Brian. Woo! We are now 50 members away. 50 members away from 1,700. Let's keep going, baby. Lightning round. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. We, unlike CNN, have no corporate oligarchs funding us. So let me ask you, I don't know if you know this, but 50% of South Carolinians that voted today are pro-Medicare for all, which is pretty astounding in a red state like this. All we've heard from CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the country doesn't want to eliminate private health insurance. The country doesn't want, Medicare for all. But we're now 4 states in, every one of those, including a conservative state, the majority of Democratic voters are for Medicare for all. So what does that say? They've been feeding propaganda, basically.
Absolutely. No, I mean, we were, canvassing. So when you canvass, you knock on doors of people that are registered for Democrats. And we're here in South Carolina. I'm from New York. But we're knocking on doors in South Carolina, and we were asking the people that we actually connected with who they plan to vote for. It was actually all Bernie. Very surprising. They were all saying Bernie Sanders here in Charleston, South Carolina, and the Medicare for all was the thing that people kept bringing up. It's an exciting opportunity for us to kind of change how the healthcare is administered in this country, and it could bring quality of life up significantly for everyone.
I'd like to ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but Elizabeth Warren right now is in 5th place. Could change, but she's in 5th place right now in South Carolina. She came in 3rd in Iowa, 4th in New Hampshire, 4th in Nevada. She might come in 5th here. I mean, when you look at the math, the majority of her voters, their top second choice is Bernie. So right now, for a lack of a better word, she's taking away from Bernie more than anyone else. Whereas since they're going to try to block Bernie from getting that 1,900 is the magic number to clinch the nomination, it's tough to say somebody should drop out, but she has no path. Right now she's losing in her home state, which is in 3 days. What would you like to see Elizabeth Warren do?
So I'll just preface this with saying I love Elizabeth Warren. When I first discovered her running for her Senate campaign, it was through like a viral video, and she was just basically laying out infrastructure, like her ideas about infrastructure and how taxes pay for companies to succeed.
It was a very famous video where she was yelling at the billionaires, "You earned your money on the roads that we paid for you to bring your goods to market." That was like when she was running for the first time.
Exactly, yeah. And I saw that video. I was like, this woman is amazing. Who is this woman? I think that she could be president someday. It was actually something I was thinking about. and I've been following her career since, and I think she's amazing. But I think in this presidential, the candidate race, she sort of, I don't know what actually happened in the campaign, but she seemed to slide a bit right. And I think it happened when she changed her stance on health care and backed off of Medicare for all. And I think that's when I was between the two candidates of Sanders and Warren, and that's when I really just went behind Sanders, because that was my biggest issue, and it was a little bit disappointing. So going to Super Tuesday with Warren, I think I think she's has a ton of great policies. I heard her speak in Queens last year, and she's amazing. But if we actually want a chance at a progressive direction, absolutely, people, if she happens to leave the race, I think that her fans should look to Sanders, because I think he's the only person that's going to move this country in a more progressive direction.
I think I know a lot of my viewers feel a little bit less kind to her just because of all the, she didn't endorse him in 2016. She kind of breached a private conversation, said Bernie said X. It was kind of this he said, she said stuff. But I think that, listen, if she's actually a progressive, which she claims to be, wouldn't you want to help the progressive with the real chance here to win? I mean, it really comes down to that.
They're both in a race to win the candidacy, so she was playing to win.
No, I mean, but if you have no path, because at this point she doesn't have a path to the nomination.
Well, I can't make that call for her. But I think, Liz, if you're listening, please endorse Bernie Sanders.
And lastly, what's your message to people watching? There might be people that are discouraged that Bernie had such momentum. Maybe they thought he could upset here. What would be your message to progressives that might be a little discouraged tonight?
Yeah, I think it's see the forest for the trees. We're sort of building a movement here. It's not about election. It's not about one election. It's about bringing people together. Gloria Steinem sort of talked about if everyone has a problem, but you come together and you talk about your similar problems, and that's how you start building things just to change. So I think it's the presidential election is a small stepping stone in bringing people together to make this country a better place, and actually have their taxes that we're all paying work for them versus working for other interests. So we have a really good chance here in the presidential election to make our country a more better, to have a better quality of life, and to make this like a more just country. So it's exciting.
What's your name again?
Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it. So Biden's still talking. His lead is shrinking. He's now at 50%. It just went off the screen. Biden's lead is at 50%. I think Bernie was at 18, so Bernie's been going up. Biden's going down. Steyer is Biden's at 50, Bernie's at 19, and Steyer's at 11. Pete Buttigieg is at 7, and Warren's at 6. Welcome new Status Coup member. Got another one. Welcome new Status Coup member, Carlos. We are now 49 members away from 1,700. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. By the way, for members, next week we have our monthly members call. So it's a great time, Jen and I, with you. It's on Zoom, not YouTube. We do a video call with our members every month. And you don't have to be on video, you can mute your video. We take your questions, comments, ideas, concerns, whatever. We definitely share too much information, so that's one of the perks of being a member. Keep signing up. Jen just sent me this. Pete Buttigieg spent more on South Carolina TV ads than anyone except Tom Steyer, and nobody spent more days in the state than Buttigieg. He worked to win black support. He got 2% of South Carolina's black support. What do you know? What do you know? Jamal, come here for a second. I'm not trying to tokenize my black cameraman, but I don't see a lot of African Americans in the bar. So, Jamal, cameraman, editor. So I want to ask you, before we get to Buttigieg, you and me have been talking. Biden. You're a younger guy, but, you got older family. What does it say to you that somebody has been able to get away with lying about engaging in civil rights sit-ins, lying about getting arrested in South Africa? I mean, I know the difference between getting stopped and not allowed to go somewhere and being thrown in a cell. There's a difference. And the amazing thing is, it's like he's done it in black churches. He's done it in front of black people and pastors and this and that. If that was Bernie Sanders, forget it. But it was barely covered in the media. He might have won anyway, but I do think it makes a difference, and it says a lot about the media is just in the tank for pro-corporate candidates.
All right, so I'm going to start by saying that it says a lot about what the media thinks about black people, first of all. They don't really think of us beyond as a demographic for their votes. That carries over into Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't really think much about black people because he's exploiting us for his votes. It's very sad because you realize that it's very effective when you have a guy who is associated with a former black president, and he exploits the emotions of older black voters to go over to his side and to basically, manipulate the vote. Pandering, just this very shameless pandering that you see from Joe Biden and a lot of these candidates. Not necessarily Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders actually has black people on his campaign. He has tons of black surrogates. You see that it's very authentic appeal to black voters, but it's very sad when you see that Joe Biden is just exploiting black voters. He's basically using, like I said, his credentials, his connections to black politicians such as James Clyburn. So it's like, it's sad as a young black voter to see somebody just use their clout to enhance their demographic, or a demographic that they could use to leverage their campaign. I see right through it. It's very hollow. It's very disingenuous. You see James Clyburn on stage with Joe Biden. It's like, they had backstage, deals and talks about how they're going to get, the black vote on his side, and it's worked. The black vote is the base of the Democratic voting bloc in the South. 60% of Democratic voters are black. So, I just have to say that it's just a very disgusting display of pandering. They really don't think very much of us. It's just sad to see.
Thank you, sir. We'll have you back in a couple minutes. Welcome new Status Coup member Nancy. Woo, Nancy! 48 members away from 1,700. We gotta hit 1,700 tonight. I'm working sick, by the way. I got a bad cold, and I really, really hope. I've been taking shots of cayenne pepper and all that stuff. I got a cold in New Hampshire. Jen filled in for me in Nevada. She did an amazing job, but it was a really bad cold. I don't think I was totally out of the woods before I came down here, but you know what I mean? Justice don't stop. Justice don't stop. So didn't want to miss this. Keep signing up. statuscoup.com/join. Biden's lead is shrinking. And I think one thing that Jamal mentioned that I think is important, and ask anyone else if they want to do an interview. I think something Jamal mentioned that's really interesting. Can you, honestly, just for a second, not just Bernie, can you imagine if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lied about what she had for breakfast? It would be wall to wall. That's why I always call CNN, MSNBC, all of them. They're basically an unannounced super PAC for pro-corporate Democrats. They don't hold pro-corporate establishment Democrats who might as well be Republicans. Joe Biden might as well be a Republican. Joe Biden, if you don't know, literally put an award over George W. Bush's neck. a Patriot Award he gave George W. Bush. Joe Biden has said how much he loves the Republican Party. Come on in. What's your name, sir?
Jesse Williams.
Jesse Williams. I got a cold. It's not Corona, don't worry. Where are you from?
Hawaii originally, but I live here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Charleston area.
So, have you been paying attention to the race tonight?
Yes.
Well, were you expecting a Biden victory?
Yeah. And that's just because of everybody that I've spoken to in the community. It's just that he has strong ties, very deep ties in South Carolina. And I would say probably deeper ties than he has in other southern states as well.
Right.
I
was just saying, we were talking about it. He's kind of stretched the truth quite a bit on his civil rights record. It didn't get a lot of attention in the media. Do you think that would have made a big difference if older black voters knew that, he had lied about being arrested in apartheid South Africa? He lied about participating in civil rights sit-ins. It seems like most voters did not know about these things.
Yeah, I think if people had more time to put that out there and let the information get out, then it would have made somewhat of a difference. But also, I think South Carolina has a very gerrymandered districts for Congress, and so you have these leaders who just was stalwart for Joe Biden and not for Sanders, and so that's what you have. You have the setup where people are just so entrenched in these seats. Like Clyburn's been in this seat for 20 plus years, 20, 30 years. That has a big impact on the older voters.
And actually, they asked voters questions. So the exit polls showed 47% said Clyburn's endorsement made a big difference to them, or somewhat of a difference. So that's almost half that their vote was affected by Clyburn joining him. And it was interesting because Clyburn endorsed him, but kind of lukewarm. Said he needs to make some changes, this and that. So it seems to me like South Carolina, in this case, might be a one-off because the 14 states are voting in 3 days, and Bernie Sanders is leading. It's California, he's leading Texas. What do you think going forward? Could this give Biden a significant bounce, or you think Bernie Sanders will have the momentum?
I think Sanders is going to continue to get out there in Virginia and other states, Texas, California. The media in South Carolina is really kind of entrenched as well because you have these people who's been in office for so long, and they have a press conference, or they come with the media. They're going to get the press around here. So just my opinion, just from growing up here, I ran for city council in the area. I think Sanders will be able to move forward in Super Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. But it's interesting in South Carolina. I'll say that it is an interesting situation. You have a gerrymandered congressional district, and so that's kind of crazy. So the endorsement did help Biden a lot in that respect.
What does it say to you that in South Carolina, definitely conservative, 50% of the people that voted tonight are for Medicare for all, which is pretty. It wasn't like that 4 years ago, that's for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Medicare for all. If they continue to get the word out in the Super Tuesday states and just break it down and let people know and say, hey, what are you paying for medical now? What are you paying for your premiums? What are you paying for your out-of-pocket expenses? What are you paying for your hospital bills right now? What are you paying for your co-payments right now? Let them add that all up. And I was thinking about that. You got to break it down for people and say, hey, this is an alternative, and this is how it's getting paid. This is how you can pay for it, and just put it down, put it on the table. Right. I think it'll continue to catch steam. You
know what I think is one thing that is actually kind of a mistake that Bernie's been making? I think a lot of older voters in particular, it doesn't matter if they think it's free, they're against it.
Right.
They don't let, I remember my mom used to say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Right? So I think Bernie should say it's not free.
Exactly.
Right now, if you work, you get a certain amount taken out of your paycheck to go towards Medicare.
Exactly.
What we're talking about is for everybody, that going up a little bit.
Exactly.
So you would pay into it, but the difference is what you would save versus the additional cost to you, the additional tax, would really be a tax cut. And I think that's the framing,
exactly.
And he hasn't really talked like that.
Exactly, and that's a good point. I'm a tax preparer myself. People want to see. These are the percentages, So if Bernie and people like him can meet somewhere between talking points and specifics and figure out where that mixes in the middle, they have a good strategy. I'm not going to tell them how to be strategic. But I think if you continue to push it out there and let people understand, also let people see what the tax rates will be under Bernie Sanders. Put it out there. Get it out.
I've said, Bernie, bring a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Say this is what you're paying now.
Yeah.
Here's what you would be paying, because people are very visual.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, people care about their bottom line. You know what I'm saying? African Americans, everybody. So keep on, keep moving forward, man. Rome wasn't built overnight. We got to get the word out. And there is still existing that corporate power, corporate power structure.
You sound like a Bernie guy.
That's me. That's my head. that's in my mind. It's real. I fight the school district stuff here. Local to the federal government is there. Oh, it's a reality.
And 1 second, just want to give you the breaking news. Tom Steyer is expected to have an announcement soon. I'm assuming that announcement will be his dropping out with 56% reporting. Tom Steyer is at 11%. I think he spent $21 million just here in South Carolina. So I assume the only announcement he would be making is to drop out. So we'll keep you updated on that. So you were saying you're fighting the schools. What's the top issues for you down here in South Carolina?
I'm fighting for within the local school district in Charleston County. There's a large push for privatizing the schools. And what we have in Charleston County is you have billionaires literally have bought the school board. And so we're fighting for the schools because we want to keep it public. We don't want the privatization to happen. We don't want billionaires to be able to literally transition monies from the schools into their pockets, whether it's through capital projects or whether it's through operations. It's just straight up crazy that they're doing this to the kids. So I see it firsthand, It's not just me like talking points. I'm not just picking it up. This is real. It's a real battle on the ground, and don't give up, Whatever your fight is locally, wherever you are, don't give up. It's real to you. That's what matters. Bernie's fighting on that level. Keep up the fight.
Thanks, man. What's your name again?
Jesse Williams.
Jesse Williams. Thank you. I got a cold. Status Coup. Status Coup. We're live right now. Go check it out. Only on Status Coup will you see a great game of Jenga while you're live. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Hey, come on in. Yeah, come on over. What's your name?
Brooke.
Brooke?
Yes.
Did you come to watch the results, to play Jenga, a little bit of both?
Mostly the results,
Okay.
but the Jenga happened serendipitously.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to give the audience an update. We got a new member, so welcome. What is your name? Hold on. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Helen. Helen. Thanks for joining, Helen. We are now 47 members away from 1,700. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Membership is the only way we can fund this campaign and show you this great Jenga game. What's your name again?
Brooke.
Where are you from?
Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you come up for the primary?
I'll be here this week.
Knocking on doors?
Yes.
What's some of the reactions you've gotten? I've heard from a lot of people that the Charleston area was actually pretty pro-Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this result tonight. The feel I had, and maybe I'm very biased, but I felt like it was pretty even. Like a lot of people were saying either Bernie or Steyer or Biden, but it seemed to.
Still early. I mean, There's a lot of results to come in.
Yeah. And I do hope we'll close that gap some, but I did not expect a blowout or anything. It did seem like it was pretty even between Biden and Bernie. I mean, there's a lot of doors we knock, like always, that people aren't home, and maybe those are the people who either don't vote or vote for Biden. I don't know.
Well, I also think it should be pointed out, I don't think it made the difference here, but I reported earlier they closed down a lot of polling places and basically didn't tell anyone. A source of mine told me earlier they closed down all these polling stations and they announced it like in the newspaper on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, how many young people are reading the newspaper in South Carolina? And frankly, even older people. I mean, most people are working and busy. So I was hearing a lot of people going to the polling places and being like, Where is it?
Yeah. No, I heard that happened mostly in Greenville County. I don't know how much it affected us here. I think Greenville County closed something like 52 polling locations. And yeah, I think a lot of, especially the regular voters, where they don't even think about it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to the middle school. They just show up, and then I've also heard that they didn't even have proper signage sometimes to show them where to go and to the right place. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I already see the media is starting with the narrative. Well, Bernie got 26% against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Now I think he's at almost 20%. So he went down,
Yeah.
leaving out the fact that, there's like 6 or 7 candidates this time. So it looks like they're very happy that Bernie lost.
Well, I see that sort of response a lot of times. Anytime you see like some national poll where it's like Bernie leads at like whatever, 35%, and then the next guy is 20%, and the next guy is 15%. And people will take that and they'll say like, oh, Bernie's at 35%? That means 65% of people don't like him. Well, it's like, really, you want to follow that logic? Because that means then that 80% of people don't like the 20% guy. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's also not how elections work, because when you look at like Warren and Biden, actually, their voters' top second choice is Bernie.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if they're not in, a lot of that's going to Bernie. So yeah, but it's all disingenuous. These are highly paid people that have brains. They just choose not to use them.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about Elizabeth Warren. I mean, it could change, but she's in 5th place right now. That would be 3rd in Iowa, 4th in New Hampshire, 4th in Nevada, 5th in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, she kind of she flip-flopped on super PACs, which was that's her whole DNA. I'm anti-corruption, no super PACs, no bit. Now she has a super PAC. Listen, people will say I'm sexist. I think she should drop out. I think she's pulling away from Bernie at this point. If she's actually progressive, if she believes in Medicare for all these things, then you should back the person with a path right now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, I think the same. I mean, I liked Warren. I was actually preferred her over Bernie as of like 6 months ago, even sooner than that, like 4 months ago. I donated to her campaign even. I thought a lot of her moves. Oh shit!
Tom Steyer to drop out. Tom Steyer to drop out of the Democratic primary. So that's breaking news. People are very excited here at Bernie's bar headquarters. We'll get back to Warren. What do you think about Steyer dropping out?
I thought some of her moves have been very disingenuous. I mean, starting with the Native American stuff, like I never liked that, but I was willing to look past it. A couple other things, like she started backing off of Medicare for all. She started saying like, well, eventually we get there, third year after we've had midterm elections, and you're going to lose the entire Senate and House probably. So that's great. And then she also started that whole Bernie told me I couldn't be a president or women can't be president, which like I would love to see a day that a woman could be president or that a woman is president. And I do think that day is coming very soon. I do believe that women do face unique issues in terms of being elected. That said, I don't think Bernie would have said those exact words. I think he might have even said something like, it would be hard for a woman to be elected president right now, but that's a completely misconstruing his words. If he even said anything like that. And the whole sources on that were just very suspect. And I also didn't like how, now she didn't do this personally, but a lot of her supporters would take that and say like, #BelieveWomen. And like, I'm someone who has like survived through like domestic abuse and sexual harassment, and so that kind of stuff is just like doesn't play with me, because it's like, this is not the same thing. Someone telling you can't be president and someone like emotionally abusing you, it's not the same. And then afterwards, yeah, she voted yes on Trump's military budget. She did take money from super PACs, and she just had all these sort of nasty plays where it just seems very.
I also think, to me, put aside policy or anything like that, she surrounded her campaign with a bunch of Hillary Clinton staffers. It was a lot of her campaign were old Hillary Clinton people. So, all right, you mean to tell me you had a private meeting with Bernie in December of 2018 before you announced?
Yeah.
He made this statement, which even Republicans were saying, I don't think Bernie said that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like something Bernie would say. You know how the game of telephone is.
Yeah.
You say something, I say something, you interpret what I said, X. You know, I might say, you know, my girlfriend might say, how do you think I look in this dress? And I'm like, I don't think it's your best. And to her, she hears me saying you're fat.
Yeah.
When I really just meant I don't like the color. And she goes and tells her family, Jordan, you know, so it's like, it sounds like it was this like he said, she said game of telephone. But more importantly, she was at a point in her campaign where she was clearly, the bottom was falling out. And she went to the media to like stab her friend. And, you know, it kind of reeked of somebody who you can't really trust politically.
Yeah, and it did seem like it was. I don't think her campaign has even recovered from that ever. I mean, not that that's when it started, but it did seem a desperation move, and it also seemed like there was maybe some miscommunication within her campaign, because I know it was like 4 anonymous staffers of hers who even released it in the beginning. And it felt like she was maybe even put in an awkward position where she's like, I can either call my own campaign a liar, or I can sort of just, I can sort of go with this sort of fraudulent scheme, but like it'll maybe make me look good, so I guess I'll go with it. I can imagine a situation where there was sort of a left-hand, right-hand thing.
You know what's really interesting to me? It shows how brain dead the media is. So the media kept framing it, Warren's decline in the polls came because she was for Medicare for all.
Yeah.
When in reality, so many younger people, I'm assuming you're like 20s, maybe 25. So many younger people fled her not because she was for Medicare for all, but because she moonwalked away from it.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, oh no, it's because she was for Medicare for all.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were saying earlier, I mean, I think the Warren campaign has actually been pretty transparent on this point, that at this point they're really just staying in to take votes away from Bernie. And even if that, I guess it's like on this like lark of a hope that she could even be the contested convention delegate, I suppose, or the contested convention nominee. Even then it seems very disingenuous and all that, but I do believe she should drop out. It doesn't give me, yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just got this. Warren just took a shot at Bernie. This crisis demands more than a senator who has good ideas, but whose 30-year track record shows he consistently calls for things he fails to get done and consistently opposes things he nevertheless fails to stop. So it doesn't sound like she's dropping out anytime soon.
I wish she would. I mean, it's not also just not true. I mean, I don't have like the fact sheet in front of me, but Bernie has made sizable changes in people's lives. Like, he increased the minimum wage at, I think, Disney and Amazon. I might be misremembering that.
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. I think it was one other place.
Disney too.
Yeah, and he increased their minimum wages, and you can't tell me that hasn't made a good change in people's lives. Not only that, just like the more sort of less tangible things of shifting the Overton window, of letting people believe that there was an alternative to Hillary, whom I liked in 2016. But even just letting people know that there was an alternative to this establishment that doesn't care about them. I don't know.
And it's also like, honestly, you clearly have no path at this point.
Yeah.
So these kinds of statements tell me her campaign's plan is to just stay in and try to get the nomination at a brokered convention, which she is on video saying, I believe, in America, people with the most votes should win.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like after basically leaving Bernie at the altar in 2016, she wouldn't endorse him then. We already spoke about the stuff she's done now. It seems like her plan is, even if she wins no states, even if she loses her home state, by this statement tonight, it seems like she wants to, I consider it, steal it at the convention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully understand what she's going for. Either she really is just that desperate and she thinks that maybe if she stays in it long enough, maybe she can steal enough delegates and then maybe she can actually get the contesting convention, because I think she does understand that outright winning it is not possible. I think even it might be just a play for like making odes to the Democratic establishment, and then whoever does get picked at the contested convention makes her their VP or their Secretary of Treasury or whatever.
And lastly, for you, you came up from Florida. You're obviously politically engaged. What about Bernie? Like, why are you so passionate to come up here and knock on doors? What's at stake for you? Like, if he were to win, how would it affect you?
There's a lot of little things. I grew up in a very conservative home.
What part of Florida?
Tampa.
Oh, I went to school there.
Okay, cool.
University of Tampa.
Oh, okay. I was at University of South Florida. I grew up in a very conservative home. I was registered Republican until 2 months ago. Just not because like I felt that way still, but because I didn't feel like it mattered. I felt like I had better pull on the Republican side of things than the Democratic. And the whole, I mean, at the end of the day, it really does come down to me for defeating Trump. As much as I love Bernie's policies, and all things being equal, I do prefer his policies, and I love Medicare for all, and I love how he's basically, it's sort of this idea of there but for fortune, there go I. I had a pretty blessed upbringing, but a lot of people don't have that, and I never understood why, just because my parents could pay for me to go to college, or pay for my health care, or pay for my tutoring, or anything like that, or my food even, that other people just by luck, or by bad luck, grow up in a situation where those things aren't available. That said, all things being equal, I do think that Bernie has the best chance to defeat Trump. I think he has that working class pull. I think he can really win the Rust Belt. And I think he can also obviously secure all the blue states. But I also think that the Green New Deal, that is also very important. I think that sometimes gets overlooked in terms of Medicare for all. Like, obviously that's super important too, but if I'm going to grow up in a place or if my children are going to grow up in a place where they can live, and my grandchildren can grow up in a place where they can actually live and prosper, it's going to be with the Green New Deal. I honestly believe that.
Profound words. Lastly, you're a little younger than me. You know you have a doppelganger, or you're a doppelganger?
Really?
You ever watch Dawson's Creek?
No.
Who is the actress? Michelle Williams, I think her name is. You never heard this before?
No.
You look exactly. Look it up. She was in Dawson's Creek. I think she's in bigger things now.
Yeah.
She just won an Oscar or whatever.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I saw her because she was the one who was saying women vote for your own interests or something.
Yes, you look like her.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you need a job, you could be an extra. Sorry. What for Bernie people that might be a little discouraged tonight? What's your message to them with Super Tuesday coming out? Possibly a brokered convention. What's your message to people that might be a little discouraged?
Well, my message to them would be sort of the same message to myself, because I'm not stopping here. I'm going to Texas, and I'm going to continue canvassing there. And it's going to be a bit of a blow here. I was hoping for something closer, but I'm going to keep going. And I think the donations are already pretty off the charts tonight, just for Bernie. And I think Super Tuesday was already sort of projected to be a pretty big win for Bernie, but I think getting those last couple of points, whether it's not that this is the objective, but like making people less viable in states where they were sort of on the borderline, or making Bernie all that more prominent. I think that's really the goal right now on Super Tuesday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. So we got a Jenga game still going on next to us, so very wonderful. Let me see. All right, we got another new member. Woo! Keep it coming. Jen, please tell me what's our number right now for membership. Exit polls in South Carolina primary show electorate was a lot older than Iowa, New Hampshire, or Nevada. That makes sense considering Biden won. The Clyburn endorsement of Biden was huge. Half of voters said it impacted their vote. Among black voters under 40, Bernie Sanders won. Younger voters still with Bernie. So it's not really shocking. South Carolina, generally an older demographic, older voters, a lot more older voters tonight. Under 40 African Americans went to Bernie. When you move away, whoa! When you move away. When you move away from South Carolina, You're going to get a lot more diverse with a lot more Latinos. South Carolina doesn't really have a big Latino vote. You're going to get even more young people in California. So I personally think, listen, it looks like Biden, all right, 68% reporting. It looks like Biden will probably win, probably when it closes, somewhere around 20. Call it what it is. It's a good victory for him. He needed it. But I don't think it dramatically changes much. I actually think Tom Steyer dropping out might help Biden a little bit, because I think a lot of Biden voters were moving to Tom Steyer, but they also might move to Michael Bloomberg on Super Tuesday. You just never know. Medicare for all, we talked about that. 50% of South Carolina voters favored Medicare for all, so that's a big difference there. Jen, if you could give me the membership number, that would be great. So I want to address Elizabeth Warren before I get to another interviewer, because I have something to say. And I don't care if I'm called sexist. I don't care if she's a woman, a man, or glow in the dark. It doesn't matter to me. Elizabeth Warren, I'm not saying she's a snake. I'm not going to go that far. But at this point, let's not pretend Elizabeth Warren is an actual hardcore progressive, because she is showing she is not. Elizabeth Warren has no path to the Democratic nomination in a democratic way. Elizabeth Warren cannot win the Democratic nomination with the plurality of delegates. She has come in third place in Iowa. She has come in fourth place in New Hampshire. She has come in fourth place in Nevada. Unless something changes, she's going to come in fifth place in South Carolina. So clearly, she is not staying in this race with the belief that she's going to win or get the most delegates. She's staying in this race, as her campaign has basically said, to just stay in as long as she can, get as many delegates as she can, and position herself, which, by the way, if she does that, her votes are making sure that Bernie Sanders does not clinch the nomination with 1,971, I think it is, delegates. Her staying in would be the reason Bernie does not clinch it on the first ballot. I don't know how you could say you're a progressive when you are intentionally blocking the progressive with the actual path to victory. I wouldn't be saying this if she came in second in Iowa, if she came in second in New Hampshire, if she came in second in Nevada, but the numbers are the numbers. You don't have a path to victory. And I really have to challenge her supporters, who, honestly, they've called Bernie a sexist, this and that. If her supporters believe in Medicare for all, which I'm not sure they do, if her supporters believe in a Green New Deal, then I understand. Listen, I understand I'm a man, so I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like for a woman to have never seen a woman president. I understand that that is not right. We should have a woman president. We should have had a woman president many times ago. I'm with you. I would love to see Nina Turner be the first woman president. But this is not about a woman versus a man. It's about get rid of Trump, who's out of control, and it's about who can actually carry the progressive mantle to the finish line. She cannot do that. And I think it's downright, I think it says a lot about Elizabeth Warren, not only as a politician, but as a person. She obviously, for whatever reason, has a lot of animosity towards Bernie Sanders. She thinks Bernie, whatever. She thinks Bernie said something mean to her. But for the love of the progressive movement, and I don't care if I'm called sexist, this is not about her being a woman. This is not about her abandoning Bernie in 2016, her not speaking up about Standing Rock. Forget all that. If you do the math, 538, Nate Silver's geeky blog, 538 estimates Bernie Sanders right now would go to the convention with 1,700 something delegates. He needs 1,970, I believe it is. Elizabeth Warren is projected right now to have 200-something delegates. Those 200 delegates are the difference between Bernie winning it on the first ballot and a brokered convention. It's Elizabeth Warren. So that's all I have to say. By the way, it goes without saying, sorry if you don't like it, Tulsi Gabbard supporters, she should drop out too. Not that she has a big percentage, but I mean, Tulsi, I'm with you. We got to get out of these wars. No regime change. I'm with you. But even that, 1% here can make a difference. This is about math. I saw you shaking your head. You want to join? I saw you watching. You want to join? You have any thoughts? Okay, that's okay. Oh, I don't want that. No. We don't want to get you in trouble. Status Coup on YouTube. Yeah, sure. You want to come on? Oh, we got people playing Jenga. We got people playing pool. It's fantastic. Where's my guy? Hey, you want to come on? Come on. So, hold on. Welcome new Status Coup member, Michael. Woo! 45 members away. We got to keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. 45 members away. I got to hit 1,700 before I board a plane for California tomorrow. We're going for Super Tuesday to California because of you and the funding you're providing. Keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. I was just giving my thoughts on Elizabeth Warren. You're from Cape Cod. She's your senator. So I basically said, listen, call me sexist if you want. It's ridiculous at this point. I don't know if you saw, she knocked Bernie tonight. She's in 5th place right now. She knocked him saying, this crisis demands more than a senator who has good ideas, but whose 30-year track record shows he consistently calls for things he fails to get done and consistently opposes things he nevertheless fails to stop.
Wow, that's incredible, because I just heard that Bernie's passed 444 bills into law as his time as a senator. That seems like a pretty impressive track record. And he also has an unofficial title as the king of amendments in the Senate. If you look at clips from 2016, you can see Republican senators talking about what a privilege it is to work for Bernie Sanders and how much he gets actually done. The thing is, Bernie's not a proud man, right? He's very modest. He doesn't put his name on bills so that they will pass. He will pass them on to his Republican colleagues in the Senate so they actually get approved. He's too humble for his own good. It's one of the things I really admire about him, but he's hurting himself with this.
What I think's amazing, and you're from Massachusetts, so you would know. We'll get to Bernie in a second. What the hell has Elizabeth Warren done in the Senate? I want to give her credit. She helped create the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That's great. Not taking it away from her. Before she was a senator. What has she done as a senator? The only thing I know is viral videos screaming at bankers. I've enjoyed it. I love watching it. But what has she passed that's monumental as a senator?
Not a whole lot, I gotta tell you. Elizabeth Warren's really a faux aggressive. As the senator of Massachusetts, she's really just gone out to protect her own interests. She passed on her fossil fuel investments to her family. She's been known to be a plagiarist. She published a recipe in the New York Times that was proven to be a plagiarism, claiming it a Native American recipe. And she was a Republican. I mean, let's not forget that, she voted for Nixon. She voted for Reagan. Twice. I think that she just found herself in Massachusetts so that she could partner with weapons manufacturers like Raytheon and just try to appeal to Massachusetts voters. In Massachusetts, we're a very liberal state, and that's why we are overwhelmingly supporting Elizabeth Warren and why she's going to lose her own home state in a massive margin.
You mean supporting Bernie?
Exactly, and I cannot wait for it. It's going to be great.
But, to me, this speaks to the neoliberalism of the Democratic Party, and I'll tell you why.
Right.
When Elizabeth Warren got in the Senate, I actually think she was pretty progressive. She spoke about, you remember that viral video, like, you got rich off of the roads that we pay for to bring your thing to market. But I think so many politicians, this is why it's really kind of miraculous that Bernie hasn't been corrupted. So many politicians get into Washington and they drink that steady diet, or they eat that steady diet of gradualism, and they make these mini trade-offs and they rationalize it. Well, I gotta make deals with the Clintons. I gotta make deals with them for the greater good. And I think Elizabeth Warren, I mean, look at her campaign. She surrounded herself with former Hillary Clinton staffers. And I just don't understand. She doesn't have a path to the nomination, but she's basically willing to kamikaze pilot to the convention to try and
steal the nomination with superdelegates away from the will of the voters. Yeah, exactly. And the perfect example of exactly what you're talking about was in 2016. And we had her. There's this incredible video from 2004, right, where she absolutely destroys Hillary Clinton for flipping on bankruptcy laws, right? And she attacks Hillary Clinton and uses an example of how she was beholden to Goldman Sachs and the other, banks, right? So Elizabeth Warren explained exactly how Hillary Clinton was corrupt and sold out to the banks, and then proceeded to endorse her over true progressives in 2016. She endorsed Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders lost Massachusetts by 1%. Elizabeth Warren's endorsement, I think, would have changed that number. And as Jim McGovern, Massachusetts is the liberal stronghold of America. I'm also proud to say in 2016 we were the only state of the union that didn't have a single county go for Trump. Right? So I think that if Elizabeth Warren had endorsed Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton in Massachusetts in 2016, it would have gone his way. And when we had that broker convention, some of my delegate friends from Massachusetts ended up going to Hillary. And I think that really just speaks to the character of Elizabeth Warren.
Well, I also think, just from an optics point of view, right? If you lose your home state, and right now, I mean, she could lose by more than 5 points. How do you even make an argument that you could unite the party if you don't even have a mandate from the state you represent?
Well, you can say, hey, unlike Bernie Sanders, I do accept super PAC money. I'm willing to get bankrolled all this way by billionaires. Did you know that one of the people who is in charge of the super PAC, which just gave her $12 million, also contributed money to Mitch McConnell? Like, are you kidding me? She's completely sold out. Like, she was a strong second choice for me, but forget it. She is canceled in Massachusetts, and me and my friends in the state, the activists, we're going to do everything we can to see that she doesn't get reelected and she gets primaried by a real progressive.
I want to read this to you. Welcome new Status Coup member, Carol! Woo! 44 members away from 1,700. We got 2,300 people watching this wild caveman. So keep pressing that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the live stream. Let's get this to 3,000 viewers. We're better than CNN. You don't want to watch that crap. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. I want to read you this tweet because this says it all.
Lay it on me.
CNN is now openly saying Warren campaign hoping South Carolina stops Bernie's momentum. Elizabeth Warren, who boasted, I'm a capitalist to my bones, is objectively now helping the right wing try to stop Bernie. That's a tweet from Ben Norton. So listen, I know some people watching are going to be like, Jordan, you're going too hard on Elizabeth Warren. Somebody I love might be saying that, but I don't think we are. I mean, listen, the niceties are over. You're talking about math. Her staying in is going to create a broker convention. And for what? And you want to know what? I say this about women, about men. Obviously, Pete Buttigieg is all ambition. He don't care about the country. He wants to be president.
Right.
Well, she's putting her own ambition. Great. I say, great. Have ambition. Men, women, whatever. Everybody should be ambitious. But at what cost? Because what she's doing right now, first of all, I think she's delusional because I don't think they would give it to her at a broker convention unless she sells out even more, which is possible.
That's her argument, though, right? She's the moderate. She's the compromise candidate.
But the compromise to what? I'm telling you right now, and this is not me telling Bernie Sanders supporters what to do, but this is just what I know based on going around the country, I'd be surprised if they took it from Bernie. If they gave it to Warren, I would estimate 5 to 10% of Bernie Sanders supporters would end up voting for Warren or whoever the Democratic nominee is.
I mean, you got to remember that 12% of Bernie Sanders supporters in 2016 in the primary ended up voting for Trump. So, I mean, a lot of people really seriously are Bernie or bust. In Massachusetts, I've never had to worry about voting in the general election for a blue candidate, so I've always supported third party. But I've never come out to South Carolina before to volunteer.
1 second. Hey, Jamal, can you grab me a water? So basically, listen, this could be theater. She could be doing it tonight. See how she does on Super Tuesday. Get her ass kicked then, and then do the right thing. But you know more than I. You're from Massachusetts. It doesn't sound like she's going to do the right thing here.
No, it does not.
Okay, hold on. Welcome new Status Coup members, Yon, Pamela, and Justin. Yeah! 44 members away from 1,700. Oh, excuse me, 41 members away. 41 members away from 1,700. I believe in miracles, so do you.
Close that gap. $5? That's not a lot, man. You can afford $5.
I know you're signing up after this.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That's what you're looking into.
So let me ask you. You're from Cape Cod. You came down here.
Yeah.
The gap is narrowing a little bit. Biden is now under 50. Bernie is at 20, or about to be at 20. My guess is Biden will end up winning by 20 to 25 points. It was a very old electorate, the results show. Bernie's winning 40 and under African American, which I think is key, because most other states, especially on Super Tuesday, are not, sorry South Carolina, are not all older people. There's a lot of, so in California, not only black people, under 40 Latinos, under 40 African Americans, under 40 white.
And let's not forget that the average age of a Latino in the United States of America is 19, and they make up the largest demographic in the new America now. So what they're going to do in the polls is going to determine the outcome of this election.
Why don't you have your own YouTube channel? You're like an encyclopedia.
I spend way too much time on Reddit.
On Reddit? Okay. So let me ask you. I think the corporate interests after Super Tuesday, if Bernie Sanders supporters think they have already gotten the full army against them, it's going to be like nothing you've ever seen. You watch Game of Thrones? It's going to be that. I don't want to spoiler, but it's going to be like that White Walker epic thing. You're going to have every bank, every fossil fucker, every big pharma, Silicon Valley, all of them. They are going to come out against him, and you are going to see they're going to bring out that he stole lunch money in the 1940s. Are you, as a Bernie supporter, prepared for that? Because they're going to try to screw him. They're showing it.
I mean, that's exactly what the DNC did in 2016, and we've been preparing for that. We know that. Of course they're going to do that. You know, they're all backed and owned by billionaires, and the billionaires are going to do anything that they can to keep a stranglehold on this country and keep the average American down. But the really incredible thing is there's the internet out there, so people can now educate themselves and realize that a billionaire still really only gets one vote. You can try to drop as many millions of dollars as you want buying TV spots, but you still only get one vote, and I think that the people are waking up and becoming too smart for their BS.
Welcome new Status Quo member, Dennis. We're 40 members away from hitting 1,700. We got to hit 1,700 tonight. L'chaim. Statusquo.com/join. Statusquo.com/join.
Myself, that's a great idea.
Come back. So, what I think is amazing about this gentleman over here is he's telling it like it is. I'm not trying to be bombastic, folks. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. But at this point, I don't have any more tolerance for what Elizabeth Warren is doing as a progressive. Because she's not being a progressive. This is political selfishness. Kudos to Tom Steyer, okay? He knows he has no path. He dropped out. He probably realized, wow, I just blew away $20 million, but whatever, he dropped out, you know? Kamala Harris, not that she dropped out of, you know, as a good thing, but she dropped out because she didn't want to be embarrassed in her home state of California. She was going to lose. She wants to keep the potential to run again in 4 or 8 years. But what Warren is doing, there's no reason to do it unless you're trying desperately to steal the nomination. And I don't want to hear from these people, oh, well, Bernie tried to do the same thing in 2016. No, he didn't. Go to the videotape. In 2016, Bernie Sanders clearly said, in states that Hillary Clinton won by a lot, the superdelegates should go to her. In states that I won by a lot, the superdelegates should honor the voters and come to me. He didn't say superdelegates should not honor the will of their voters. Also, Bernie said, you know, you keep hearing in the media, well, Bernie Sanders wrote the rules, so he should agree to them. He didn't write these rules. Bernie Sanders and his supporters were literally the minority on the Unity Commission. That whole Unity Commission, which was bullshit, but that's another story. They were in the minority. They didn't have the votes to decide. They tried to get superdelegates totally abolished, but they didn't have the votes. So they accepted it on the second ballot because what were they going to do? They were the minority. So it's just disingenuous to say, well, Bernie's being a hypocrite now. Want to come on? We're live. Come on. Hello. What's your name?
Hi, Blake.
Blake, where are you from?
I'm from Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach. Bernie was there the other day. I believe it had almost 3,000 people midday in South Carolina. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
What are your thoughts? Obviously, it looks like it's going to be a bigger victory for Biden.
Yeah, we kind of we suspected as much. I mean, you know, there's been a great amount of support for Bernie. He's really just a lot of grassroots support. A lot of people that signed up to vote that haven't voted before. So I mean, this is kind of what I was expecting. Either I knew Bernie was going to come either in first or second. But yeah, Biden, you know, he's got a lot of support here, so it's not really a big surprise.
What does this say to you? You know, I spoke with my cameraman before, but Biden's been lying about a lot of things in his civil rights record. He lied about, I don't know if you saw this, he lied about getting arrested in apartheid South Africa. He lied about, he said he was arrested on his way to meet Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
The New York Times, Washington Post exposed that he wasn't. But the media didn't really do anything about it. Like CNN had him on for a town hall for an hour. They didn't challenge him.
Oh no, they favor him completely. I mean, that much is obvious. Like they're so skewed anti-Bernie, and they, you know, even the questions that they ask in the debates and everything, it's like they go straight for Bernie. They attack him. I mean,
to you, I mean, you're from South Carolina. I mean, Biden probably would have won, but like, don't you think black voters should know, have a right to know? It's not only that. Journalist Sean King showed Biden has said 35 times in the last 2 decades that he participated in sit-ins, civil rights sit-ins. Never did.
never did.
So it's like he's saying this stuff at black churches.
That's misinformation, and someone should be covering it. CNN should definitely be covering it. So don't you wonder why they aren't? I kind of do.
What about South Carolina? What are the conditions on the ground? Obviously, older people here seem to be a little stuck in their ways. It seems like the younger people here, it wasn't even close. What are some of the issues, you know, in your life, your friends' lives, that attract you to Bernie?
The biggest issue for me is campaign finance, just getting money out of politics. And Bernie's the only one that's not endorsed by billionaires, and that's the most important thing for me. I mean, if you're
To be fair, Tulsi's not either, but
oh, okay, all right, and I support that. You know, she's
Warren is.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and Tulsi hasn't had a lot of time to state her platform. But yeah, to me, that's the number one issue. I mean, we have to have for democracy to work, you can't just buy your candidacy. I mean, everyone's vote should be equal. And if there's money in politics, then that's not the case.
Well, also, even though he's broke now, Joe Biden has been doing more Wall Street fundraisers than actual campaign events. He's going around the country. I mean, I get the emails every night. He's doing like 2 or 3 fundraisers a day. Wall Street people, oil people, big pharma. And yet he's coming out, I'm middle class Joe. Nobody calls him on it. Well, I do, but the corporate outlets do not.
Right, and we wonder why that is. Why that is. Who's funding, who are they taking funding from? Obviously not grassroots donors. And yeah, I mean, if you're taking funding from big pharma and the oil companies, then you're out. You're out in my book. I can't trust you. Like, who are you going to look to? Whose opinions are you going to take in mind when you're going to make regulations, right? You're going to take all those donors' opinions in mind. So I can't get behind that. I mean, it's just.
Speaking of trust, Elizabeth Warren flip-flopped on. You know, I don't do big fundraisers. I don't have a super PAC. Within 5 minutes, I have a super PAC. $12 million they're spending all over the country. Tonight she criticized Bernie again.
Right. So she'll go ahead and say, "Oh, Bernie's my friend." You know, she doesn't mind saying that because she wants Bernie's voters. You know, and she has had a lot of support with former Bernie people. And she's even in South Carolina, we've seen a lot of coalitions coming out like in support of her and everything. And we lost some voters that way, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, she doesn't mind biting Bernie, so to speak. She doesn't mind taking some of his policies and kind of co-opting them. But at the same time, where are you getting your funding? You know.
I also think it comes down to the definition of progressive, right? You could be progressive on paper. Right. You could have plans that are progressive. If you read her plans, they are progressive. Yeah. But politically,
that's why it sounds great.
Right.
It sounds great. But at the end of the day, you know, you when you receive those kind of donations, you're beholden to.
And it's amazing to me because Warren and the media have been trying to make it seem like Bernie is taking big money from like the nurses super PAC, National Nurses United, who, by the way, their super PAC.
The teenage kid that started the super PAC, the Bernie super. Oh, he's got a super PAC now. Oh, it was started by a 15-year-old.
The National Nurses United super PAC is members. It's actual nurses. It's not billionaires. They say our revolution is a super PAC. Our revolution doesn't actually put television ads on television. It doesn't put ads online for Bernie Sanders. The Intercept just reported their biggest donation in the last year or two was $25,000. I'm not saying that's nothing, but we're not talking about billionaire super PACs here. It just seems disingenuous, and I think you use the term co-opt,
yes.
Which I think she's tried to basically step over here and try to get Bernie's people and also like appease Clinton's people. And when you try to appease everybody, you appease nobody.
Yeah, she's kind of painted herself as this progressive but yet middle of the road candidate, and it's sad to me because she should just endorse Bernie. I mean, if she's so aligned with him on all these fronts, then she should drop out and endorse him.
What are your thoughts headed to Super Tuesday? Bernie's up in California big. He's up in Texas by about 9 right now. He's up in Utah. He's up in Colorado. I think he's within 3 points in North Carolina. Virginia poll that I just saw, he's up by 9. It looks like, I don't think Biden's momentum's he only has 3 days.
Nothing. Biden's got nothing. He came in, 6th, 7th in Iowa?
What did he come in Iowa? 4th and 5th in New Hampshire. And second by a lot in Nevada.
I mean, sorry, Biden. Like we had that. We tried that.
You don't want to restore the soul of America?
restore.
That's his bumper sticker.
Oh, that's his bumper sticker. Okay.
Restore the soul of America. Let's move corruption back to the back room. We don't want it in the front.
No, I think we need to go in a new direction, and Bernie's our man. Bernie's going to take us there. It's Bernie or bust, as far as I'm concerned.
And what's your name again?
Blake Godsey.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So there you have it. There you have it. And I really think, to tell you the truth, listen, I'm not saying, I'm not telling Bernie Sanders voters what to do, but I think the Democratic Party, I think Elizabeth Warren, I think all of them are absolutely fucking out of their mind if they think they're going to steal the nomination from Bernie, and then Bernie Sanders supporters are going to come vote for whoever the nominee is. And that's scary because you know what that's going to end up? We're not talking about him a lot. That's going to lead to Donald Trump winning. And in all seriousness, Donald Trump, we need to defeat Donald Trump. The planet is on fucking fire, man. We can't have another 4 years of this, man. We are near, I don't want to scare anyone, but we have a serious health issue right now with coronavirus, and he's out saying, no big deal, fake news. This is somebody that's using his Department of Justice as his little play toy. This is a real fascist. And if you give him 4 more years for the environment, for Muslims, for black people, for our economy. So that's why what Elizabeth Warren is doing right now, that's why what the Democratic Party is doing right now. Don't come crying when Trump gets reelected and blaming Bernie Sanders supporters. Right now, you have Bernie Sanders supporters who, Bernie's clearly by the data the strongest candidate, and they don't care. They would rather lose to Trump than win with a progressive. Welcome new Status Coup members. Woo-hoo! We are now 36 members away. Welcome new member Jordan. Welcome new member Andrea. Welcome new member Sean. We are now 36 members away from hitting 1,700. Keep signing up. statuscoup.com/join. You want to come on in? I just want to, Joe Biden's bundlers are seeing surge of pledges from new big money donors after his win in South Carolina. Many of these new donors are coming from the Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar camps. Big financial boosts for Biden going into Super Tuesday. So basically Wall Street fat cats are now running to Biden.
I mean, it's pretty clear that...
What's your name?
My name's Nick. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that the centrist Democrats are going to flock around whoever is the favorite of the day, you know, and Biden, I mean, regretfully, he won South Carolina, but I think the other camps clearly will see that, you know, maybe he's the candidate that they want to rally around, but I think it's obvious that he doesn't have a chance to beat Trump. They're making a huge mistake, but they're going to do whatever they're going to do.
I was just saying to the audience, I mean, what's getting lost in all this? I don't think the country can't take another 4 years of Trump. I don't want to be dramatic, but I mean, the planet, I don't even call it climate change. It's an inferno what's going on.
Sure.
The Amazon, California, the Everglades, Australia. You look at, I mean, he's basically saying fake news with coronavirus.
Yeah, that's
the first death today. Yeah. More people contracting it. You look at, they're trying to ban more people from Muslim countries. I mean, this is not something to like gamble with. Joe Biden the other day literally said, I'm Joe Biden, I'm running for the United States Senate.
That's true. You know, in his defense, he's old, but he also has a stutter, so sometimes he says things and you got to give him a little bit.
That's not a stutter. He's forgetting where he is half the time.
I'm not. I understand that, you know, Joe Biden has been a gaffe machine his entire life. You know, since he's entered public office, he's been a gaffe machine. It seems to get worse as he's getting older, but that's to be expected. It's a little bit of probably a combination of Joe's natural proclivity for gaffing and also being a little bit older.
So, to me, you look at, I mean, I thought it was going to be closer. It's still, there's still votes left to be had, so it might close a little bit. But when you look at it, to me, the biggest takeaway here, not just for South Carolina, but just the election in general, I think Warren and her staying in is blocking Bernie from getting the delegates he needs. Putting aside whether everything in the past, you look at California, you look at these other states, if she weren't in, her voters' top second choice is Bernie. She attacked him tonight. What do you think? Like, she has no path at this point, but she seems to refuse to drop out.
Well, as you said, a lot of her voters' second choices it's Bernie. I would like to see her drop out, but I think also, I don't want to overstate, the people who might leave her camp are all not necessarily going to come straight over to Sanders. I mean, Warren has gone on record, obviously, I'm a capitalist to my bones, and Bernie obviously isn't. I would say that one of the big takeaways from tonight is, when you look at the numbers, a Democratic socialist won 30%, 20%, my bad, 20% of the vote in one of the most conservative states in the country. That's a huge win. I mean, obviously we didn't get the delegate count that we'd like, but still, that means we're making progress.
I also think in one of the most conservative states in the country, 50% of voters favored Medicare for all.
Yeah, no, that's a huge takeaway. There's two groups, or there's this group, Medicare for All South Carolina, which has been doing organizing on the ground in rural South Carolina for the last 7 months, going to local flea markets, talking to local officials, going to churches, barbershops, what have you, talking with people about Medicare for All. And it reflects in those exit polls. We've been doing a lot of organizing on the ground around Medicare for All. And while Biden might have won, there's clearly a lot of support for something that is obviously absent from his platform, which is Medicare for All, universal single payer. And if Biden wants to continue in any meaningful way in this race, he's going to have to come to the reality that Americans want universal single payer. They want Medicare for all. And when they don't get it, and when they realize their candidate doesn't have that, they're going to lose a lot of enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm is one of the things that's going to carry Bernie Sanders forward in the coming Super Tuesday elections. And it's going to help him when he is the nominee, because he will be the nominee. It's going to help him carry forward to defeat Donald Trump.
Well, I think that remains to be seen. We already see that. I mean, the New York Times basically reported this week, at least 90 that were interviewed said, yeah, we'll screw them.
Yeah, the caveat to that is, obviously, the DNC, I mean, I think most of us realize that the Democratic establishment, the DNC, are not on Sanders' side. They're not on our side. The Democratic Party is essentially a private entity. They can do whatever they want. The Republican Party is the same. And because of that, a lot of us are locked out of the electoral process in any meaningful way. You know, Bernie has historically obviously been an independent in the Senate, right? But he caucuses as a Democrat, and he's running as a Democrat, right? So, you know, the DNC sees him as, I think, a very existential threat. But the consequence of him not being able to work within the DNC is that the Democratic Party is going to lose the progressive and left wing of the party. And it really opens up the door for some kind of third-party organization, which essentially we do need. But right now, it's kind of how do we navigate in the system that we already have, which means playing ball with the Democrats, regretfully. But we understand that the DNC is a hurdle to getting the nomination. But, you know, that's why we organize. We organize so we can effectively fight back against people who have power and make sure that they're not able to exercise it against our will.
And what for you are the major issues that attract you to Bernie? How would you be impacted if he won?
Well, Medicare for All is obviously a huge one. In South Carolina, we've lost 4 rural hospitals since 2010. South Carolina has one of the highest concentrations of medical debt. Over a quarter of the people in South Carolina carry some kind of medical debt with them. And that medical debt doesn't care who you are. It is across all races, classes, genders. It affects every single person in this country in some single way. So Medicare for All is a huge one because it would improve the health outcomes and the health access to South Carolinians across the board.
And memory correct me if I'm wrong, but South Carolina did not accept the Medicaid expansion in Obamacare.
That's correct. Yeah, South Carolina did not accept Medicaid expansion. And for me, what that tells me is that we can't rely on state solutions, like local state solutions, to address the healthcare crisis. We need national programs to deal with this. Medicare for All is the most straightforward, the most common sense one, and the one that we have the most research on. There's a lot of obvious opponents to Medicare for All who like to scream about, oh, what about the cost? Oh, we're going to lose choice and whatnot. Medicare for All and universal single payer is one of the most highly researched forms of organizing medical care in the United States. And we have examples from all across the world where similar systems have been put in place. We know it's going to work. We know it's going to lower costs. We know it's going to improve outcomes and access. The opponents are disingenuous in their attacks. And, you know, we need a national program to affect it, because clearly the state of South Carolina, our mayor, our governor, McMaster, and the state GOP are adamantly opposed to helping South Carolinians, especially rural South Carolinians, with getting better health care.
And I want to point out something that I think is getting lost in this current coronavirus discussion. Once they start making testing available, it's not free. Testing, as far as I know, is not free. You go to your doctor, you got to pay whatever your copay. As I just learned, if you go pay your copay, you might have to pay more because you haven't met your deductible. So a lot of people that should get tested for coronavirus might not, because they can't afford it, or they don't want to get hit with whatever the bill is. The second thing is, you're not going to hear this on the news. What about the people of Flint, Michigan? What about the people of Standing Rock? What about the people, name your community that's been poisoned? Their immune systems are already shattered through no fault of their own. Their government poisoned them, oil refineries next to them, uranium mining next to them. There's high levels of cancer in these communities, high level of immune problems, kidney, the list goes on. Who's standing up for them right now? There might be, we don't know yet, but there's a growing health crisis like coronavirus. They don't have Medicare for All if they need to go to the doctor. I speak with the people of Flint, most of them don't even have Medicaid, and they were poisoned by their government. So I think, you know, it's a point that there's even healthy people need Medicare for All, but there's people all over the country that have compromised immune systems because of the government. They can't go get a free corona test.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a very narrow definition of healthcare that only thinks about the individual. I mean, if you're familiar with immunization and vaccines, one of the benefits of vaccination is herd immunity. If you're vaccinated and everyone around you is vaccinated, and say, I can't get vaccinated or I'm not vaccinated for whatever reason, whether it's I have an already compromised immune system that I was born with, I have a genetic defect, whatever. Herd immunity protects the individuals who are vulnerable, who can't get the medicine. Essentially, healthcare is a community issue. You know, if you get sick, there's a chance that you might get me sick. We treat it as an individual problem in the United States, and that's just wrong-headed. You know, we need to be able to address health crises and health problems as a community and not rely on the individualistic and like hyper-capitalistic model that says you need care, you got to pay for it. We should have a more humanitarian way of thinking about it. We need to be able to care for our community in a very real way. And the only way to do that is with a community-based program like Medicare for All, where everyone has access to insurance. We have a universal risk pool and a single-payer system where everyone knows what the prices are going to be, and they don't have to worry about it being a financial burden or being tied to their employer.
What's your name again?
Nick.
Thanks so mumuch. I don't want to touch you. I got a little cold. Speaking of Medicare for All. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, can I get that water? So with 86% reporting, Biden is up a little less, 29 there. He's up by 29 points right now, so still a big lead. Bernie's about to hit 20. Right now, Biden and Bernie are the only ones with delegates. Honestly, getting back to Elizabeth Warren for a second, she's down 5,000 votes. You're losing to Pete Buttigieg. You're losing to Pete Buttigieg in South Carolina. And you're staying in this race? I don't know, man. That's the height of selfishness, if you ask me. Welcome new Status Coup member David. Woo! 35 members away. 35 members away from hitting 1,700. Keep signing up. Keep signing up. We got an early flight. I'm a little under the weather, so we're probably going to end soon. But while we're still alive, keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. A reminder, we have our members call next week. So if you sign up today, you'll be invited to our members call next week. It's a lot of fun. You'll get a link to join us on Zoom. You don't have to be on video. You can mute your video and just listen. But we take questions, comments, concerns. We have a great time with our members. I think last time we had 75 to 100 people, so hopefully that gets bigger. Jen saying, you need rest, pack it up. Yes, I'm ending soon. So my takeaways. Number one, listen, bottom line, give it to Biden. He won. It is what it is. He won by a lot. I'm not surprised. It's an older state. Biden does really well with the older voters. This is the generational divide. It's Hillary Clinton, 2016. She did very well among over 65. She did very well among older voters. I also want to make a point. This is why I stress so much. This is why we named this network Status Coup. The media is in large part responsible for older voters staying numb. The media is and I'm not talking, there's a lot of older people that watch Status Coup, so I don't want to say all older voters. But unfortunately, if you're an older voter watching and you're woke, a lot of your baby boomer friends are not. And the problem is they consume a lot of MSNBC. They consume a lot of CNN. They consume a lot of Washington Post. And they are fed a steady diet of propaganda. They are fed a steady diet of universal health care is radical. Free college is radical. Saving the planet is radical. All these things are radical. They are programmed to think we can't have real nice things. We could only have small crumbs. The worker bees can have crumbs while the bourgeoisie gets to have cake and champagne. This is what people are fed by CNN. Because CNN is owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerate called AT&T. NBC, MSNBC, owned by a multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerate, Comcast, which, by the way, hosted the first fundraiser of Joe Biden's campaign. No conflict of interest there. New York Times, the largest investor in the New York Times is a Mexican telecom billionaire, Carlos Slim. Look it up. Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So that's why it's so important to have independent media in this country. Whether it's Status Coup, we thank you so much for supporting us. Literally, we cannot do this without you. We can't fund this without you. I can't pay Jamal. We can't pay Jen, Colin. I need to take money. We can't pay the bills to travel. We have bills for marketing, social media, equipment. We're trying. I don't know if we're going to be able to. Right now, you're watching us on something called Live View. It costs us $12,000. We have the second to the best Live View. We're hoping to be able to raise enough money to get the best, because basically, without getting into the weeds, Live View, the top level would make it so we could go live pretty much flawlessly. It has more bandwidth. I don't want to bullshit. I don't understand the tech, but the top level is $23,000. So we're trying to grow our membership so we could fund that. We'd like to hire another reporter. We'd like to hire more marketing help so we could get Jen on the road more so we can get Jen reporting more. Right now she's doing a lot of marketing, a lot of social media, a lot of business development. She's great at it, but we want to see her doing more reporting. And doing this, when you do things the ethical way, when you don't sell out, when you don't take money from the Comcast, the NBCs, the plutocrats funding the Democratic Party, the plutocrats funding the Republican Party, Silicon Valley. And as we grow, we will get those offers. We will. That's how it goes. As you grow, they come to try and water you down. And I'm here to tell you, not fucking taking their money. I'd rather go, sell vodka on the beach or something. I'm not selling out. It's just not happening. Neither is Jen. You could save this video. We're not selling out, and there have been some outlets that have sold out. Not saying any names. So the bottom line is, it's going to be a long campaign, folks. Super Tuesdays in 3 days. We got an early flight to California, thanks to you, because you've provided us the funding. I'm not going to lie to you. Past California, I'm not sure. We need to raise more money, and that starts with you. If you can, obviously, if you're tight, if it's not within your budget, $5 a month, $10 a month, that's fine. Totally get it. We don't want to make your situation any tighter. Just support us without money. Press the like button. Share these live streams. Sign up for our email list, statuscoup.com. Spread the word. I do believe in spreading the word. You'd be surprised. You tell your family, you tell your friends, you tell the mailman, check us out. That brings in people to take a look at it. If you can support us financially, statuscoup.com/join. I mean, we made it so many people can support us, making as low as $5 a month. And I hope you do, because honestly, past California, there's other important states, Michigan, Florida, Ohio, Wisconsin. We'd like to go to all of them. But it costs a lot of money to do this, and we don't have corporate funding, and we don't want corporate funding. So keep supporting us if you can. My takeaways from tonight before we wrap up, honestly, I think this is going to be a one-trick pony for Joe Biden. He only has 72 hours before Super Tuesday. All of Wall Street and all their butlers can donate to him, but I don't know how much of a difference that could make in 3 days. When you look at California, when you look at Texas, a lot of early voting has already happened, so they've already voted. Texas has a massive Latino population, so does California. I don't think that's going to Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders has already showed a lot of strength in Texas, in the Latino community. I think that, to me, and we've already talked about this a lot, I really think the biggest thing here is Elizabeth Warren. She has a test right now, and right now she's going to fail it. Obviously, candidates, this is a democracy. People can stay in as long as they want. With that said, you can't claim to truly believe in progressive change if you're willing to block the only progressive left with a chance, A, to beat Trump, but B, to clinch the nomination on the first ballot. She knows that's what she's doing. So to me, that's selfish. I don't think you could call yourself a progressive. I don't think you could claim to want to fight corruption in America, get money out of politics, all these things. If right now you knowingly are stepping in the way of somebody who could do that. I would not be surprised if Amy Klobuchar drops out right after Super Tuesday. Maybe she'll win Minnesota and drop out. I don't think Buttigieg is going to drop out. I think his head is that big. Tulsi, I'm not sure. I think she's going to California next. Steyer has dropped out. So to me, the only ones that definitely will drop out, I think Klobuchar is going to win Minnesota. I think she wants to win Minnesota to position herself for vice presidential spot. It doesn't look like Warren's going to drop out. Maybe that will change if she loses Massachusetts, which right now it looks like she might. Pete's not going to drop out because he's got his head's as big as Trump. So that's where it is. I do think you're going to see the media rally around Joe Biden. You're probably seeing it right now. But I still think Bernie Sanders is in great shape. He's crushing in California right now, the most delegates at stake of any state. He's crushing in not crushing, but he's up 8 or 9 points in the most recent poll. Winning Colorado right now, winning Utah right now, winning Virginia right now. Yes, winning Massachusetts right now. So looks like it could be a very good Tuesday, and that's why we're going to California. So thank you for getting us there. I'm just going to be honest, after Super Tuesday, we need more funding now to be able to cover contests after that. So if you haven't signed up, sign up tonight if you can, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Welcome new members, Shane. That brings us to 34 members away from 1,700. Before I sign off, I want to read a couple comments just to say, give you a little love before we sign off. Keep signing up if you can. Bernie's about to hit 20%. Welcome new Status Coup member, Benny. Benny and the Jets. 32 members away from hitting 1,700. Get some rest, Jordan. I'm about to. I am surprised Warren didn't drop out. Welcome to the club. Not fucking taking their dollars. No, I'm not. Rat-faced Mayor Pete is the CIA. Now. CNN showing a Super Tuesday poll right now where Bernie's up 21. Benny! Welcome, new member Benny. Warren is so dishonest. Biden right now is up. Biden's up by a lot. He's up by almost 30 points. How many times did Biden use the N-word in his victory speech? I didn't watch, but I don't think he did. If he did, the media probably would bleep it out. Bloomberg plus the strugglers will have to come to terms with reality on Tuesday. Pete is a rat weasel. Hey, the thing I'll say, reality. If you're a Bernie supporter, don't get cocky. If you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, don't get cocky with the polls. Keep knocking on every door like you're down by 10 points. Don't take anything for granted if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter. My girlfriend says, oh my God, Jordan, go to sleep. You're going to give me gray hair. My love, I'm about to sign off. But I'm a working man fighting for justice and I want to get a couple more members. My sweet girlfriend, Anad, who takes such good care of me. I dislike Warren more. She's a backstabber. Only Tulsi and Bernie is not taking PAC money. That's true. Tulsi's not. Or front stabber. All right. I think we're ending right now with 33 members away from 1,700. Oh, how nice it would be to get on that plane to California tomorrow at 1,700. So please sign up, statuscoup.com/join. I leave you with David Plouffe, Obama's campaign manager, said, this is a two-person race. Either Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders will be the nominee. Pressed in his follow-up, given all the Bloomberg money he adds, that is my sincere belief. So all of them are saying, basically all of them are saying, Bloomberg get out, Buttigieg get out, Klobuchar get out, Warren get out, let it be Bernie versus Biden. I say that would be delightful. If it's Bernie versus Biden, I think Bernie crushes him. I think Bernie would really, really beat Biden. I think it's a different time than 2016. Biden is a weak candidate. He, honestly, as I've talked about, not looking all there, cognitively either. You know, it's not a gaffe when you say, I'm running for senator in the week of the South Carolina primary. It's not a gaffe when you keep saying you're in the wrong city. That's not gaffes. That's something else. So, thank you so much for watching tonight. Sorry it wasn't a victory, but I think we did a good job, had some fun, talked to some voters. That's what we try to do. Give the microphone back to the people. Frankly, I don't see a lot of other outlets doing that. So if you want us to remain in the trenches, sign up one last time, statuscoup.com/join. Thank you, Jamal, behind the camera. Thank you, Jen, at home, Super Chat, helping me with keeping the audience updated. We'll see you in California. We're getting to California. We'll be covering a Bernie Sanders rally tomorrow. I believe it's at 5 o'clock Pacific time, so that will be 8 o'clock Eastern time. And then after that, we got some things planned, or we're planning things for the 2 days after that. And on Super Tuesday, I will be in Los Angeles. California is the motherlode. California is the most important state, has the most delegates, so that's where we're going to be. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow in California. Statuscoup.com/join. Peace out.